Hello everybody, welcome to CGTN's Facebook page. We are live on many different platforms, not just Facebook actually, a lot of social media pages. I'm Silkina Ahluwalia, I'm CGTN's Indonesia correspondent. We are in Bandung, West Java today. Specifically, we are cruising through the Citarum River. Now this is considered one of the dirtiest river in the world, and we're gonna try and make sure that it doesn't rain, but it's really not in my hands, and I think it already started to rain. So it might be a little bit hard to see that there are plastic around, because we know that the Indonesian government and also a lot of local communities and residents, they have started to take matters into their own hands and started to clean up this river by themselves. But I was here just 3 months ago. As you can see, there were a lot of trash around here, but right now we're not seeing a lot of waste, which is obviously good news. You can see a little bit over there on my left. I can see a lot of plastic bottles. Now obviously this is a major issue, but there are a lot of residents and houses that are built by this river. So trash from household does end up in this river, and of course that is a big problem. And aside from household trash, actually what makes this river so dirty is industrial waste. So there are a lot of factories alongside these rivers, and they dump toxic chemicals into these waters, making it extremely harmful and dirty. So it looked really different 3 months ago. All right, so you can see that woman right there. She's also burning trash. Now, if we walk up to that side, there are a lot of houses on the top of that area right there, and that is one of the main issue why there is a lot of waste in these waters. And you may not see that the exact colors of these waters, but if you look closely, there are many different chemical waste, and you can actually see it in the water. Like some of them are a different murky color. And just by looking at these residents that are by the river and they're fishing, they're hoping to get food from this river, which is obviously, it is unhealthy, but you know, this river is the source of life for 30 million people. And a lot of them just have no other way to get water. Okay, it started to rain, and we're gonna try hard to still keep this okay. So our friend here, namanya siapa mas?
Ricky.
Our friend Ricky here, he has been living in this area. Udah berapa lama tinggal di sini?
Udah 20 tahun.
So he's been living in this area for more than 20 years. And he was telling me earlier that he uses this water to shower, to drink, to wash his clothes. Mas, kalau pakai air Citarum ini pernah kayak ada reaksi nggak, gatal-gatal?
Oh, ada.
Biasanya reaksinya apa aja?
Gatal-gatal sama meriang.
Oh,
iya.
Yeah. So
Akibat ini kan gatal.
ya, karena ada banyak limbah.
Iya.
Kalau misalnya banyak limbah, kenapa Mas masih mau pakai air ini?
Iya, karena gimana lagi, nggak ada lagi air yang bersih.
Yeah. So Ricky is telling us that he's been using this water for 20 plus years. He's been living here for 20 plus years. He is a resident here in just by this river, and he said that, you know, when he uses this water for drinking, for showering, for washing his dishes, he does get an allergic reaction, and it does affect him. As you can see, ini akibat itu ya.
Akibat
So
air.
yeah, so as you can see, he does get really itchy. Whoop. And but he tells me that there's no other way that he can get other sources of water. This is basically his main source of water, and Ricky is just one out of 30 million people that still depend on this. So maybe you can show the waste that is next to me here. So not only do these residents around this area use this water, but around 80% of people in Jakarta use this as their main source of water as well, because it flows straight into Jakarta's dams. It is extremely unhealthy to use this water for anything, but in Indonesia there are a lot of communities that live by the river, and those rivers become their life source. Of course, it gets especially dangerous during seasons like this, which is the rainy season, because of heavy flooding, which usually occurs. And when that happens, the residents really have no choice when these toxic waters enter their homes. And I've spoken to a few residents as well, aside from Ricky, and they complain of getting itchy when using this water. So you can see a lot of sacks of clothing, sacks of rice, I believe. Now, according to the ministry industry, there are around more than 400 textile factories that are also situated by this river. Probably not in this area where we are at right now, because this river is around 300 kilometers long. So you can imagine how many factories and houses that are by this river. So of course right now the waste is better. Of course right now, as you can see, that the waste is definitely getting better and it's lesser. But 3 months ago, it was not. 3 months ago, it was not like this. 3 months ago, it was not like this at all. Actually, I was here 3 months ago, and this water was filled with plastic bottles. And so the mission essentially is to make this water drinkable. Now, of course, it sounds like an impossible mission, but it is an initiative that the local Indonesian government has started to slowly implement. They want this water to be so clean that not only can you use it for washing your dishes and eating, drinking rather, but mainly they want this water to be drinkable just like it was 50 to 60 years ago. So what happened in the 1980s was this area, which was, largely just housing, became more of an industrial zone. So a lot of factories started setting up their companies here, and that kind of changed the purpose of this river a lot. So a lot of the textile factories actually dump their chemical waste here, and that's part of the reason why a lot of local environmental groups, you okay? Local environmental groups are kind of pushing for them not to do that, and also not pushing the companies, but also hoping that the Indonesian government can start to implement strict regulations, because a lot of the factories that are by this river, they don't really have proper documents that tells them not to dump toxic waste. So a lot of the local environmental groups are kind of hoping that the government can start to implement strict laws that basically tells these companies that you cannot just dump your toxic waste into this river, because this is the main life source for so many people. So let's just show you around what it looks like right now. We're actually approaching that tree that obviously has a lot of trash and a lot of waste in it. So a lot of the waste that are on top of the water are basically cleared. The physical waste, obviously, plastic bottles, plastic packaging, it's not there anymore. But I mean, these the ones that are lodged in these trees, I guess they take a lot more time to clean up. But it's also important to educate the residents, because they themselves dump household waste into these waters. There are no proper waste collection areas, no proper education that's being given right now. So the government's main goal is to install CCTV cameras along these banks, so they can start to penalize people that are dumping waste in this river. So aside from being the main life source for 30 million people, including people in Jakarta as well, this river is actually also very important because it acts as a hydroelectric power for Indonesia's popular tourism island of Bali, if anybody has been to Bali. So basically 10 years ago, after the World Bank declared this particular river the dirtiest in the world, a lot of attention was put here by media and other organizations, and that prompted the Indonesian government to start making changes, which is obviously a very, very good idea. I think we should show that side because there's a lot of waste that side. So as you can see, the slope just falls right under a lot of people's houses, I would think, and we've passed by a few residents that are burning their trash just outside of their homes. So it's really hard to make out exactly what trash it is, but I can assure you, looking at it right now, there's just a lot of plastic packaging, and of course plastic waste is an issue that is crippling the world's oceans right now, and Indonesia is obviously the second largest plastic polluter in the oceans in the world. So according to research, the levels of toxic chemicals in this river have reached an alarming rate. So there are at least 1,000 times more lead present in the water than the usual standard that's safe for drinking. So you can imagine 1,000 times more lead in these waters, and people are still using it for drinking and washing their dishes. Hello, we have some people saying hello to us. Again, you can see this man is also burning his trash. It is really the only way to get rid of the trash rather than dumping it into the waters, I suppose. Now, of course, to make this river cleaner, just put my feet straight into the water. So, of course, to make this river cleaner, it is not just the government's responsibility. It is really a collective effort that needs to be made between local communities, residents, obviously business owners and companies that are situated by this river. They need to understand that they cannot just throw their waste as they wish, but to kind of get them to properly care about this river, there needs to be proper regulations and proper laws as well. And I actually spoke to one of the head of a local environmental initiative. They're called the Elingan community. And they have actually taken matters into their own hands. So what they do is, if they see these pipes that are releasing toxic chemicals, what they do is they actually, by themselves, they get rocks or they get concrete and they start to block those pipes, because they were basically telling me that they've been trying to tell the government to stop this from happening, but nothing has been done so quickly. Hello. Nothing has been done so quickly, so they had to take matters into their own hands, and they actually took rocks and they took concrete and they just closed the pipes by themselves because they were getting frustrated. Hello. The residents, they just want to be on TV. So we also know that the Ministry of Maritime Affairs is also helping on this initiative, and they have promised the residents around this area that they will make Citarum clean again, like I mentioned before, just like it was 50 to 60 years ago. So, I mean, there is obviously an upside to this area becoming an industrial zone. I mean, of course, it is hard to see with all this waste and how all of the residents are getting affected, but you have to understand that it provided jobs to thousands of residents in this area, but I mean, of course, it came with a cost as well. This isn't the first time that the initiative has been implemented, or a similar initiative like this. It actually began in 2011, but it was stopped halfway because there was nobody to steer the program ahead. So you can see just by those tanks that there are companies around here. All right, so we're actually walking, we're not walking, we're actually moving towards a sign that says, hold on, in Indonesian it says, water just went in my eye. It says there are CCTV cameras here. Yeah, so that's what I mentioned before, that they are installing CCTV cameras to kind of help penalize people that they can see that are basically throwing trash into this river. 5 menit lang. So when a similar initiative was actually created in 2011, they had to stop that initiative because there was really nobody to back that program, and not enough funding as well, so they kind of stopped halfway. So that's one of the reasons why local environmental groups are, you know, just using their own funding and just, you know, taking matters into their own hands and, you know, trying to clean this river by themselves. As soon as they became aware that this river is so toxic and how all of these companies, I'm sure this is one of the companies next to us here. As soon as they are aware that these companies are actually releasing toxic chemicals into this waste, they started to become really worried. So as I mentioned before, the Ministry of Industry said that there are more than 400 textile, mainly textile, not just textile, but mainly textile companies that are situated by this river, but only 300 of them, or around 300 of them, actually has the proper permits and laws that kind of, you know, requires them not to release toxic chemicals into these waters. I am going to try and log into the CGTN page so I can read some of your comments, and if you have any questions just before we leave, because we are just about finished here. But if you have any questions that you would like to ask me regarding the river, anything that you'd like to know, I would be happy to answer some of them. All right, somebody said it's a bad place. Indonesia is not bad, it's just this area that needs a little help. Well, yeah, you can see another waste that still needs to be cleaned up here. So let me know if you still have any questions and if you'd like to know anything particularly about this river. There is waste that side as well. A lot of them are lodged in the trees. So I believe this happens when this river, when it rains really heavily, what happens is the water rises so high, and so a lot of the waste that are dumped in this river, they start to get lodged in the trees, and then they basically kind of come down, and that's the result basically when the water level drops. As you can see, there's even waste in this bridge. plastic. There's just a lot of plastic everywhere. Okay, we've made it to our destination. It takes, do we know if a lot of the factories around the area are local, or might there be foreign companies setting up shop there too? I mean, I would think there are a lot of foreign companies around here as well. Obviously, no names have been released or ever going to be released, but we know that there are around 400 of them by this river. Do they have animal in the river? Yes, they do. As you can see, when we passed by, there were a lot of residents that are fishing for fishes, and they actually bring it up to their house and they start to grill them. So you can imagine there's a lot of excuse me, there's a lot of toxic waste, and they still tend to fish because this is their main source of food, and they really don't have any other choice. Okay, the rain is getting a little bit more heavier. India, most rivers are polluted. Correct. So this was actually named more polluted than the rivers in India, which I also know they are heavily polluted. Which region of Indonesia it is? We are in Jakarta, around 4 hours from Jakarta actually. We're in Bandung, West Java, and this is called the Citarum River. All right, guys, where's this river? I hope I just answered your question. Thank you so much. But still, you can leave your comments, and I will try to answer them even though this live has ended. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Silkina Ahluwalia in Bandung, West Java, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.